So what was your thoughts yesterday, Banana? Just, watching some of those wallets that bridged in a couple months ago, starting to buy with, I think it was publicly put out there at $1.3 million buying up Pulsex in that few hour period. That's pretty cool.
That's what I heard. I was wondering what the pump was from, and I heard it was something to do with Pulsex. Interesting, a buddy of mine messaged me yesterday morning, and he's like, he said something about like, get ready because Pulsex is about to impress us this cycle. And I was like, okay, cool. He's like, hope you got your bags packed and all that. And then suddenly, we had this massive pump on Pulsechain that we attribute to Pulsex. I'm like, cool, let's do that some more.
Well, so it operates in the same way as when value comes into us. When you have Ether stablecoins sitting on the chain, and that Ether stablecoins wants to buy any asset with significant amount of liquidity on chain, that value has to flow through Pulsechain. It can't just get at Pulsex.
Yeah.
So when it's going to buy after Pulsex, it's having to go into Pulsechain first, which just lifts everything on chain.
Yeah. The volatility was decent.
Yes, let's go over why our ecosystem is finally showing some strength this week after so much pain.
All right, before I start that, though, anybody have any questions about what we just talked about? No? Okay. So we noticed that Pulsechain, Hex, they're all doing pretty good. I mean, looking at it right now here, I still see some green on the board. It has come down a little bit here, but it had a pretty good day today with some double digits. Had a pretty good day a couple of days ago with some really nice candles and everything, and it seems to be sustaining it pretty okay. I mean, not all the way. I mean, it goes up a whole bunch, then the gain kind of gets chopped in half as it gets sold down, but then it kind of finds an equilibrium between the low it was at before, the new high, kind of like right in the middle is where it stays. Which, hey, anything is positive at this point here, considering like all the pain that we've been feeling. But like, why in particular are we having good days? Because this isn't normal for us, and that's not a dig at Pulsechain or anything. I mean, it's true. We have not had anything good happen, as it's not been normal for us to have anything good happen. So what I think the main catalyst of it was actually Ethereum. And not just Ethereum's nice performance today, which, let's see, today here it had a performance that was about, I mean, right now, the 24-hour return is 3 times better than Bitcoin's. Is it 6% on the day, where Bitcoin's just up 2% on the day right now? That's great. But what we all have to also think of is the Ethereum to Bitcoin ratio, because that also had a very positive breakout. And when that happens, that is, in general, very positive for altcoins, but it's very positive for us here in Pulsechain because of how paired to Ethereum our ecosystem is. So when Ethereum goes up, we go up, because Ethereum has been sucking this whole cycle, and it's been ran so incredibly irresponsibly over at the Ethereum Foundation. It's been a absolute disaster. I think that they're all bums and they should all go, but because it's been sucking all year long, most of crypto has sucked all year long, and of course we've sucked all year long as well, just because of how heavily our ecosystem is leaning on Ethereum. But because it started going up today and showing signs of strength, we showed signs of strength, because you can think of Pulsechain as a leverage play on Ethereum, and then the coins that are on Pulsechain, those are leverage plays on Pulsechain itself, which is also why like Pulsex was the big outperformer of all of them. Now, what we should also bear in mind here is that we're in a very good position in the entire ecosystem, because sellers don't have infinite coins to sell down, and in fact they've got a lot less coins now to sell and push the prices down than they had before, because they've had their fun and they're out of ammo, or they're out of most of their ammo. And even those guys that were making bags off of yields from hex staking or the ink farm rewards, those guys can't even damage the price as much as they used to be able to, because when the OA staked all the hex, well, that sucked up all of the yield. So the rewards, the yield rewards going to everybody else, is dried up. They can't mooch off of the OA anymore. They can't mooch off of the yield rewards of staking and then push down the price by selling it down. The same goes for ink rewards. Because those ink rewards were pushed down or dried up, you got to be a lot more patient. You got to wait like at least 10 times as long to get anywhere near the rewards you could have got back when Pulsechain first got out. So they're not getting much in ink rewards that they can then sell down the price of and basically extract liquidity off of the chain. So there's very little damage now that selling can do at this point. And then the buy orders have dramatically more positive effects right now with the low liquidity and with less sell pressure. So like any buying that gets done right now in large amounts of any sort, you'll see very nice candles, very pleasing candles to see when that buying occurs. And that's been the kind of the story on Pulsechain for the past 4 or 5 days.
This is all great info, Cairo. I love it. Basically, you're telling me
Yeah.
that I have more time to DCA. Good for me.
Thank you, man. That was a really good macro and forecast snapshot.
Want to shift into something that I believe is criminally underrated in this entire industry: Hex's security architecture. Tonight, I'd love for us to open this up for a collaborative discussion on this. Let's break it down together and help new investors understand why security is the real alpha. Let's keep in mind that most of people in crypto have no idea what security even means. So let's break it down step by step for everyone to easily understand. I'm going to start it off, and then we can just kind of move forward, and you guys can cover anything that I'm not thinking about. But we need to talk about something that 99% of crypto gets completely wrong. People argue about price, they argue about charts, they argue about narratives, but almost nobody argues about security because almost nobody understands it. So let's start with the truth the entire industry tries to ignore. Actually, Giga taught me this, and unfortunately, he's not here tonight. So did Papa B, so maybe he'll come up here and join me. But DeFi's biggest failure, its biggest weakness, is the approve and allowance model. It is the number one used attack vector in small contract exploits. Not number 5, not number 3, number 1, guys. Every time you approve a token to interact with a contract, you're basically saying, here you go. Here's permission to move all my tokens forever. Please don't rug me. Please don't get hacked. Please don't betray me. It is a design flaw baked into 99% of crypto, and billions have been stolen because of it. Now, here's what Hex did differently. Hex refused to play that game. Hex said, we're not giving any contract in the world permission to touch your tokens. Hex uses only messenger.sender, meaning you must sign every action. Contracts cannot drain you, no allowances to hijack, no approvals to exploit, no infinite permissions, no whoops, we drained your wallet, sorry about that. Hex literally removed the number one hack vector in DeFi by choosing the correct design pattern from day one. Let me say that again because it's insane. Nobody talks about this. Hex eliminated the single most exploited attack surface in crypto history. Fam, that alone should have put Hex in a different category of asset entirely. But we're just getting warmed up, okay? So here's another thing that almost no one understands unless they're a developer. Most smart contracts rely on third-party libraries or unpinned dependencies. This means if that library gets updated, the project changes. If that dependency gets compromised, the project gets compromised. If that external code has malware, users get wrecked. It's called a supply chain attack. It's how the biggest breaches in real world cybersecurity happen. Now, guess what? Hex is immune. 100% immune. No dependencies, no external libraries, no upstream code, no updates, no invisible attack surfaces. Hex is 100% self contained, isolated, and airtight. In software engineering, they told me that this is pure gold. It's the equivalent of sealing a vault with one solid piece of steel instead of welding together 50 pieces and hoping none of the seams crack. I'm sure Will can relate. Again, Hex didn't just avoid risks. Hex eliminated categories of risk that most users don't even know exist. That is engineering excellence. Now let's talk about immutability. Why is immutability everything? Everyone loves admin keys until the wrong person uses them. And we probably have all had to learn this the hard way by now. I know I have. Let me give you examples of what admin keys have done across crypto. Paused withdrawals, froze liquidity, changed token supply, altered rewards, upgraded to malicious code, drained treasury funds, bricked protocols, and shut down entire ecosystems overnight. People trusted teams, and teams either failed, quit, fought. We've seen it, right? Got hacked or outright rugged. Hex avoids all of this, guys. No admin keys, no overrides, no emergency shutoff switch, no tampering with supplier rules. It is mathematically pure, predictable, forever. It is built to outlast generations. The other important security aspect that no one talks about is Hex has no oracles, and that is a huge advantage. Most DeFi protocols depend on oracles for price feeds, time feeds, validators, external data pipes. Oracles are single points of failure. Hack one oracle and the entire protocol collapses. Hex has no oracles, none, zero reliance on external data feeds. Your yield is not determined by outside influences. Your rewards cannot be exploited through price manipulation. Your stake does not depend on the honesty of some third-party server. Hex is self-contained. Hex is self-secured. This is how a trustless financial system should be built. Hex also has a closed system, and a closed system doesn't break. The safest systems in the world, nuclear reactors, airplane flight computers, medical life support devices, are closed systems. The fewer external dependencies, the fewer attack vectors. Hex is a closed system. No multi-contract sprawls, no injected dependencies, no upgradability backdoor, no proxy contracts, no random modules that can be corrupted. When a protocol is this closed and this simple, it becomes impossible to break. And that's why Hex has perfect uptime, perfect functionality, zero hacks, zero exploits, zero dependency failures for 6 years and counting. One of the biggest misconceptions in crypto is that more features equal more value, and that is completely wrong. More features equal more attack surface, more code equals more bugs, more complexity means ways to get destroyed. DeFi is littered with corpses of projects that were too fancy or too experimental, too over-engineered. Hex went the opposite direction. Hex works because it's simple. You lock, you wait, you mint. The more simple the design, the fewer places it can break. This is why Hex has outlasted experimental yield farms, algorithmic stablecoins, over-leveraged lending protocols, fragile bridges, L2 outages, tokenomics that collapse under pressure. Hex is not fragile. Hex is anti-fragile. It actually gets stronger the more chaos that there is in the market. I consider it to be human-free finance, the holy grail of crypto. Every time humans get involved in a financial system, things go wrong. Humans get greedy, lazy, we get hacked, we get emotional, get pressured, make mistakes, break promises. Hex doesn't care about any of that. No CEO can change it. No founder can change it. No government can turn it off. Hex is mathematics, not management. This is the entire point of crypto. Most of the industry forgot that. Richard Hart didn't. And this is exactly why I'm here. Hex's architecture is built to beat and outlast everything else.
The security aspect of the smart contract that lives on these blocks has, why is this all indelible and why is it secure? Number one, the encryption is at, I believe it's SHA-256, and then there's a breadcrumb that comes from the previous block all the way to the beginning block. So not only is there no admin keys, but you've got this on the indelible ledger all the way back to the beginning of the launch of the first block. And that is what we call in the trade kind of a Diffie-Hellman form of key exchange that's applied to breadcrumbing all the way back to the beginning of time. And what does that mean? It means that there's just this little bit of carryover DNA that links the blocks together, that if you don't trace back the genealogy all the way to the beginning block, or when you stake or when you end stake, if it doesn't all match up, then it errors out. And the miners or stakers don't allow that transaction to go through because it's false. So that's the primary reason that blockchain is wonderful. And when we talk about cryptocurrency, we often forget that the prefix crypto is cryptography. And you're using, the strongest form of cryptography right now to protect that bit of code that on which, this thing of ours runs. Now, a lot of people talk about quantum computing is going to undo this stuff. And we can get to that later because it does also kind of segue into wallet security. But I'll tell you now that the contract that Richard made painstakingly and in its simplicity also has a lot of complexity. That complexity is kind of like an atomic clock. The clock only tells, 12 hours at a time, twice a day, but you can depend on it being genuine and not stopping ever in this sense, because it's double checked block by block by block all the way to the beginning of time. And it simply releases its inflation to the people that are staking. It enforces the contract in terms of EES or early end staking, and it delivers that to the people that stake in an elegant and simple manner. And there's no reason it shouldn't continue working until the internet stops working. So that's the brilliance and simplicity of it. And I can attest that I've always been in awe of the impregnability of the blockchain. Try as you may, even with, quantum computing, ask yourself what the motivation would be to undo this anyway. If you're trying to get at a goodie, the minute that you crack the code, maybe just for the lulz, you make anything that you are trying to crack into to get of value instantly become of zero value. So there's very little motivation other than maybe somebody politically motivated to break into this code. And once they do that, so what do? Halt the system? Okay. Well, how long would it take for Richard to simply follow the code that maybe Vitalik, forks off of his chain to go to SHA-512? I would think maybe a couple days, and then you're off to the races, and quantum computing will take another 30 years to catch up. We're talking about exponentially difficult algorithms to break into. And also, when BIP39 was improved to include passphrases, you actually are kind of virtually incorporating that into a SHA-512 today. So maybe I spoke out of turn. Maybe that was not SHA-512 that we look forward to. Maybe it's something closer to, double that on the new rev. So, honestly, it's a good solid foundation. Richard built a castle, and it's got 4 walls, incredible, drawbridge, and and other defensible things to it, and it just works. And is it impregnable for the time being and in our lifetime? Most likely. If you open the drawbridge and go to sleep, and your portcullis is up, and all your people with the bows and arrows are asleep, and there's nobody looking out, of course somebody's going to walk in the castle and slaughter everyone in their sleep. And that's what Tam Tam mentioned in terms of offering of allowances to other contracts to do things in your wallet, but we can again get to that later. So that's my 2 cents of what I mean. Incredible summary though, Tam Tam. I really, I'm learning a lot from what you're laying down, and I'm happy to give you any insight that I have, and I hope I haven't strayed too far from the topic.
No, you've been great. I always enjoy hearing you speak, and I've learned a lot from you. So I appreciate it, genuinely.
Well, cool. So that's my 2 cents about the contract security in itself.